Have you ever stepped outside on a summer day and felt the air press against your skin like a heavy blanket, making you wonder if the world itself is running a fever? Because right now, as you sit there reading this or listening to my voice, something invisible is tightening its grip across an entire continent. And the terrifying truth is that what we have already experienced is not the climax of this crisis. It is only the opening scene. This is not a routine weather update. This is not a casual reminder to drink more water, and this is absolutely not something you can afford to treat as background noise, because the atmosphere is behaving in a way that modern history has never recorded, and the people who study these patterns for a living are sounding alarms that are growing louder by the hour. If you value your safety, if you care about the people around you, and if you want to understand what is actually happening before the headlines catch up, tap that like button right now, subscribe so you never miss a critical update, and share this video with 3 people you love. Because knowledge travels faster than heat, and sometimes a single warning is all it takes to change everything. Let me explain what is actually happening in the sky above us, because once you understand the mechanics, the fear turns into clarity, and clarity is what keeps you alive when conditions turn extreme. High-pressure systems are not just sunny days on a calendar. They are massive atmospheric engines that push air downward, compress it, and trap it near the surface. And when that system refuses to move, it becomes a lid on a pot that never stops boiling. This particular system has parked itself over Western and Central Europe, and instead of drifting east or breaking apart like normal weather patterns do, it has anchored itself, strengthened its core, and begun pulling air from the Sahara Desert straight north across the Mediterranean. That air is not just warm, it is baked, it is dry, and it carries a thermal energy that transforms ordinary cities into ovens. The ground absorbs that energy during the day, radiates it back upward, and because the high pressure cap prevents clouds from forming and rain from falling, there is nothing to interrupt the cycle. Day after day, the heat compounds. Hour after hour, the soil dries. Night after night, the air refuses to cool. This is what meteorologists call a heat dome. But that phrase does not capture the reality of living inside one. It feels like the sky has lowered itself. It feels like the wind has forgotten how to blow. It feels like time itself is moving slower because your body is working overtime just to maintain a normal temperature. And the data confirms what your skin already knows. Temperatures are running 12 to 16 degrees Celsius, above historical averages for this exact time of year. That is not a slight deviation. That is a complete departure from the climate baseline that agriculture, infrastructure, and human physiology were built to handle. When you push a system that far beyond its design limits, things begin to fail. Roads soften and warp. Railway tracks expand and buckle. Power grids strain as millions of air conditioning units and fans run simultaneously. Hospitals fill with people whose hearts, kidneys, and lungs cannot cope with the relentless thermal stress. And the most dangerous part is that this is not a short spike. This is a sustained assault. The human body can handle a hot day if it gets a cool night to recover. We are built to shed heat, to rest, to reset. But right now, the nights are not delivering that reset. The moisture in the air, what scientists call the dew point, is unusually high across vast stretches of the continent. High dew points act like an insulating layer. They trap the day's heat close to the ground. They prevent the natural radiative cooling that should happen after sunset. So instead of dropping from 35 degrees down to 18, temperatures are only falling to 26 or 27. You go to bed in a room that feels like a sauna. You wake up exhausted before the day even begins. Your cardiovascular system never gets a break. Your core temperature stays elevated. And over days and weeks, that cumulative strain becomes lethal. This is why excess mortality spikes during prolonged heat events. It is not always dramatic. It is often quiet. It happens in apartments without cross-ventilation. It happens to people who think they are just tired. It happens to workers who push through one more shift because they have bills to pay. Heat does not announce itself like a tornado or a flood. It creeps in. It wears you down. It exploits every weakness. And right now, it is reloading for another push. The countries that felt they were on the edge of this event are about to move directly into its center. Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, Denmark, Poland, and even the Baltic states are watching the high pressure ridge expand northward and eastward. The rain that provided temporary relief in some northern areas is fading from the forecast. The cloud cover that offered brief shade is being pushed aside. The atmospheric blocking pattern is reasserting itself, and models are showing a clear, uninterrupted corridor of hot air moving into regions that are not architecturally or culturally prepared for this level of sustained heat. Northern European homes are built to retain warmth, not to expel it. They have thick insulation, small windows, and limited airflow. They become heat traps the moment the sun rises. Cities with narrow streets and dense concrete absorb thermal energy all day and radiate it all night, creating urban heat islands that can be 5 to 8 degrees hotter than surrounding rural areas. Add in the lack of widespread air conditioning, the aging infrastructure, and the vulnerable populations living alone, and you have a recipe for a crisis that unfolds quietly but moves fast. Scientists are not warning people because they want to cause panic. They are warning people because the data leaves no room for complacency. The atmospheric setup is not weakening. It is reorganizing. It is drawing in more hot air from the south. It is suppressing any meaningful precipitation. It is creating a feedback loop where dry soil heats up faster, which heats the air above it, which dries the soil even more, which intensifies the heat dome further. This is not a cycle that breaks on its own. It requires a major shift in the jet stream, a strong cold front, or a sustained rainfall event to disrupt it. And none of those are showing up in the reliable forecast windows. If you have been waiting for a thunderstorm to wash this heat away, I need to be completely honest with you, because hope is not a strategy when your health is on the line. Yes, there will be isolated storms, there will be pop-up cells in the Alps, scattered showers in parts of Central Europe, and maybe a brief downpour in the Balkans. But those are not heat-breaking systems. They are convective reactions to unstable air. They form quickly, drop rain for 20 or 30 minutes, maybe bring some gusty wind or small hail, and then vanish. The sun returns. The ground steams. The humidity rises. And the temperature climbs right back to where it was, sometimes even higher, because the added moisture makes the air feel heavier and more oppressive. Real relief requires widespread, sustained, soaking rain that penetrates deep into the soil, lowers surface temperatures, and disrupts the high pressure cap. That kind of system is not on the horizon. The 7-day precipitation maps show vast stretches of France, Spain, Portugal, the UK, Ireland, Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands receiving little to no meaningful rainfall. The 30-day outlooks are even more concerning, showing persistent dry anomalies that will deepen soil moisture deficits, stress crops, lower river levels, and elevate wildfire risk to dangerous thresholds. This is not a temporary dry spell. This is a compounding drought layered on top of an extreme heat event. And when you combine those two forces, the consequences ripple far beyond the weather forecast. Agriculture is already feeling the strain. Wheat, barley, corn, and sunflower crops require consistent moisture. During critical growth stages, when the soil dries out and the air stays hot, plants close their stomata to conserve water, which stops photosynthesis, stunts growth, and reduces yields. Farmers are watching fields that should be green turn pale and brittle. Irrigation systems are running at maximum capacity, but water reserves are dropping. Rivers that normally supply agricultural regions are running low, and some municipalities are already implementing usage restrictions. This is not just a farming issue. It is a food security issue. It is an economic issue. It is a supply chain issue. When harvests shrink, prices rise. When prices rise, households feel it. When households feel it, stress compounds. And stress, combined with extreme heat, creates a psychological burden that is rarely discussed but deeply real. People become irritable. Sleep deprivation sets in. Productivity drops. Emergency services get stretched thin. Hospitals manage heat exhaustion, dehydration, cardiovascular events, and respiratory complications all at once. The system does not collapse overnight. It frays at the edges. It slows down. It asks more of people who are already running on empty. And that is why preparation is not optional. It is essential. I want you to think about the people in your life who might not see this coming. The elderly neighbor who keeps the windows closed because of noise. The young parent working 2 jobs who cannot afford to run the AC all day. The outdoor worker who measures time in shifts, not in temperature readings. The student studying in a dorm with no cross ventilation. Heat does not discriminate, but it does exploit vulnerability. It finds the cracks in our infrastructure, the gaps in our planning, and the blind spots in our awareness. That is why checking on others is not just a kind gesture. It is a survival strategy. A 5-minute phone call, a knock on a door, a bottle of water left on a porch. These small actions break the isolation that makes heat so deadly. They create a network of awareness. They turn a community of individuals into a community that watches out for itself. And right now, that kind of connection matters more than ever, because the next phase of this event is going to test our resilience in ways we have not yet experienced. The atmospheric models are showing a clear signal. The high pressure ridge is not dissipating. It is shifting its weight. It is preparing to deliver another surge of extreme temperatures, and this time it will be moving into areas that have not yet been hardened by weeks of prior heat. Acclimatization takes time. The human body needs roughly 10 to 14 days to adjust to sustained high temperatures. It increases plasma volume. It improves sweat efficiency. It lowers heart rate during exertion. But when heat arrives suddenly, or when it intensifies faster than the body can adapt, that physiological buffer disappears. People go from feeling fine to feeling dizzy, nauseous, or confused in a matter of hours. Heat exhaustion can become heat stroke rapidly. And heat stroke is a medical emergency that damages organs, shuts down systems, and requires immediate intervention. This is not fear-mongering. This is biology. This is what happens when the environment exceeds our internal cooling capacity. And this is why the warnings from scientists are so urgent. Let me pause here for a moment because we have covered a lot of ground, and I want to make sure this message reaches the people who need it most. If you are still watching, if you're still listening, that tells me you understand the gravity of what is unfolding, and I need you to help me spread this warning before the next wave hits. Drop a comment below with your city and your current temperature, not for curiosity, but so we can build a real-time map of what people are actually experiencing on the ground. Hit subscribe so you get the moment the forecast shifts, and share this video in your local community groups, family chats, and neighborhood networks, because algorithms do not save lives, people do. And your share might be the exact warning that helps someone prepare in time. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for taking this seriously. And thank you for refusing to look away when it matters most. Now, let us look at what the longer range signals are telling us, because this is where the real concern lies. And this is why scientists are using words like unprecedented, compounding, and high impact in their internal briefings. The jet stream, the fast-moving river of air high in the atmosphere that normally steers weather systems across the continent, is stuck in a deep, slow-moving pattern. When the jet stream meanders like this, it creates atmospheric traffic jams. High-pressure systems park, low-pressure systems stall, weather stops progressing, and when weather stops progressing, extremes amplify. This is not a new phenomenon, but it is happening more frequently, lasting longer and producing more intense outcomes than historical records show. Climate researchers have been tracking this shift for years. Warmer oceans change temperature gradients. Melting ice alters pressure differentials. A warmer atmosphere holds more moisture and more energy. All of these factors interact, and the result is a weather system that behaves less like a flowing river and more like a series of locked gears. When those gears lock over a populated region, the consequences are immediate and severe. We are living inside one of those locked moments right now. And the model suggests that even if we get a brief dip in temperatures, the underlying pattern remains favorable for another major heat amplification in the late July to early August window. That means the soil will be drier, the rivers will be lower, the vegetation will be more stressed, the urban heat islands will be more charged, and the human body will be more fatigued. Each wave builds on the last. Each peak starts from a higher baseline. Each recovery window shrinks. This is what compounding extremes look like. This is why preparedness cannot be a one-time action. It has to be a sustained practice. Water management is going to become the central challenge in the coming weeks. Municipalities are already monitoring reservoir levels, groundwater tables, and river flows. Some regions will implement tiered restrictions. Others will rely on emergency deliveries. Agriculture will face difficult choices about which crops to prioritize and which fields to leave fallow. Households will need to conserve without compromising health. This is not about panic buying or hoarding. It is about smart usage. It is about fixing leaks, reducing outdoor watering, using cold water for laundry, taking shorter showers, and storing drinking water in clean containers before restrictions tighten. It is about understanding that water is not just a resource. It is a cooling mechanism. It is a health requirement. It is the foundation of everything we are trying to protect. And when water becomes scarce, heat becomes more dangerous. Dehydration accelerates heat illness. Dry airways make breathing harder. Concentrated pollutants in stagnant air worsen respiratory conditions. Wildfire smoke, even from distant fires, can travel hundreds of miles, degrade air quality, and add another layer of stress to an already overwhelmed system. This is the cascade effect. One problem triggers another amplifies the first. And suddenly, you're managing multiple crises at once. That is why simplicity matters. That is why focusing on the fundamentals keeps you safe. Hydration, shade, rest, ventilation, checking on others, knowing the signs of heat exhaustion, having a plan for power outages, keeping medications cool, identifying the nearest cooling center. These are not minor details. They are lifelines. I want you to address the psychological weight of prolonged heat because it is real, it is heavy, and it is rarely discussed until it becomes overwhelming. When you cannot sleep, when your home feels like an oven, when the news keeps showing red maps and rising numbers, your nervous system stays in a state of low-grade alert. Cortisol rises, patience thins, focus fractures. You start feeling trapped. You start doubting whether it will ever break. That is a normal response to an abnormal environment. Your brain is trying to make sense of a stressor that does not follow the usual rules. The way through it is not to push harder. It is to pace yourself. It is to accept that productivity will drop. It is to prioritize rest over output. It is to step outside only when necessary. It is to use fans strategically, placing them in windows to pull cooler air in at night and push hot air out during the day. It is to dampen a cloth and place it on your neck, wrists, or forehead to assist evaporative cooling. It is to eat lighter meals that do not generate internal heat during digestion. It is to avoid alcohol and excessive caffeine, both of which dehydrate and strain your system. These are small adjustments, but they compound into significant protection. They keep your core temperature stable. They preserve your energy. They give your body the margin it needs to endure. And endurance is what this phase requires. Not heroics, not denial, not pushing through. Just steady, smart, consistent care for yourself and the people around you. Let us talk about infrastructure, because the systems we rely on were not designed for this level of sustained thermal stress. Power grids operate within specific temperature thresholds. Transformers overheat, lines sag, demand spikes, rolling blackouts become a possibility when supply cannot match consumption. When the power goes out during a heat wave, the danger multiplies quickly. Refrigerators stop cooling, medications spoil, fans stop running, communication devices lose charge. That is why having a backup plan is not paranoia. It is practical. Keep a battery-powered radio, store extra water, have a cooler with ice packs ready, know how to manually open your garage door, keep your phone charged during off-peak hours, identify a location with reliable power and cooling that you can reach if needed. Talk to your building manager or local council about emergency protocols. Ask about generator access. Ask about community cooling spaces. Ask about transportation options for vulnerable residents. Information is not just data, it is preparation. And preparation is the difference between scrambling and surviving. Transportation networks are also feeling the strain. Roads soften, tires overheat, brakes fade. Public transit systems reduce speeds to prevent track damage. Delays compound, commutes lengthen, exposure increases. If you must travel, do it during the coolest hours. Keep your vehicle maintained, check tire pressure, carry extra water. Never leave children or pets in a parked car, not even for a few minutes, because interior temperatures can rise 20 degrees in 10 minutes, turning a vehicle into a lethal chamber. This is not a rare occurrence. It happens every summer. It is entirely preventable. It requires awareness, discipline, and a refusal to underestimate how fast heat can escalate. The same principle applies to outdoor work. Employers must adjust schedules, provide shade, mandate breaks, supply electrolytes, monitor workers for signs of distress. Pushing through is not toughness, it is risk. And risk, in these conditions, has a very narrow margin for error. Respect the heat, adapt to it, do not fight it, you will lose. But if you work with it, if you plan around it, if you listen to your body and adjust your behavior, you can navigate it safely. Now, let us look at the broader picture, because this event is not happening in isolation. It is part of a shifting baseline. The climate that shaped our cities, our farms, our habits, and our expectations is changing. The extremes are no longer outliers. They are becoming the new reference points. That does not mean we surrender to fear. It means we upgrade our preparedness. It means we stop treating each heat wave as a surprise and start treating it as a predictable phase of the season. It means we invest in shading, in green spaces, in reflective roofing, in better ventilation, in community cooling networks, in early warning systems, and public education. It means we design for resilience instead of reacting to damage. The science is clear. The atmosphere holds more energy now. The oceans are warmer, the ice is retreating, the jet stream is slower. The feedback loops are stronger. None of this is abstract. It is showing up in our thermometers, in our hospital wards, in our crop yields, in our water tables, in our daily lives. And the more we acknowledge that reality, the faster we can adapt to it. Adaptation is not defeat. It is intelligence. It is the human capacity to observe, learn, adjust, and thrive under new conditions. We have done it before. We will do it again. But we have to start with honesty. We have to start with preparation. We have to start with looking out for each other. I want to bring this back to you right now, in this moment, because forecasts mean nothing if they do not translate into action. Check your water supply, fill reusable bottles, keep them in the shade, identify the coolest room in your home, close blinds during the day, open windows at night if the air drops below indoor temperature, use fans to create cross-ventilation, take cool showers, wear loose, light-colored clothing, eat small, frequent meals, avoid heavy exertion. Schedule outdoor tasks for early morning or late evening. Keep a list of emergency contacts. Know the symptoms of heat exhaustion, heavy sweating, weakness, dizziness, nausea, headache, rapid pulse. Know the symptoms of heat stroke, hot, dry skin, confusion, loss of consciousness, vomiting, extremely high body temperature. Heat stroke requires immediate medical attention. Call for help. Move the person to shade. Cool them rapidly with water, ice, or wet cloths. Do not give them fluids if they are confused or unconscious. Time matters. Minutes matter. Awareness matters. You're not powerless in this. You are equipped with knowledge, and knowledge is the first line of defense. Use it, share it, practice it. Teach it to your children. Discuss it with your neighbors. Normalize preparation. Remove the stigma from asking for help. Build a culture of care. That is how communities survive extremes, not by waiting for rescue, by becoming the rescue. Let me pause one more time. because we are moving into the final stretch of this update, and I want to make sure this message lands exactly where it needs to. If this video has given you clarity, if it has helped you understand what is coming and how to prepare, I need you to do something simple but powerful. Save this video to your watch later list, send it to one person who always puts others before themselves, and leave a single word in the comments that describes how you are preparing your home this week. Because when we share practical steps, we turn fear into action, and when we turn fear into action, we protect the people who matter most. Thank you for staying with me, thank you for taking this seriously, and thank you for being the kind of person who prepares instead of panics. Now, let us look at what happens when this phase eventually eases, because even relief comes with consequences that we must anticipate. When the high pressure finally shifts, when the jet stream unlocks, when cooler air pushes in, the immediate danger will drop, but the landscape will be changed. Dry soil does not absorb heavy rain quickly. It repels it. Water runs off instead of soaking in. That increases flash flood risk. Burned areas from wildfires are especially vulnerable. Mudslides, erosion, and debris flows can follow the first major storm. Infrastructure that has been stressed by heat will need inspection. Roads, bridges, power lines, and water systems will require maintenance. Crops that survived will need assessment. Supply chains will need recalibration. Hospitals will need recovery time. Emergency responders will need rest. The aftermath of a prolonged heat event is not a single day. It is a season of adjustment. And the smarter we plan for that adjustment, the faster we recover. This is why documentation matters. Keep records of water usage, power outages, health incidents, and property damage. Report issues to local authorities, participate in community debriefs, support mutual aid networks, advocate for long-term cooling strategies, push for urban tree planting, demand better building codes, request expanded cooling center access, vote for resilience, speak up in town halls, share your experience. Your voice shapes the next response. Your preparation shapes the next outcome. Your awareness shapes the next generation. This is not just about surviving one summer. It is about building a society that can handle the summers to come. I know it is heavy. I know it is exhausting. I know you want it to break. I know you're tired of fans, tired of sweat, tired of checking temperatures, tired of worrying about people you love. That fatigue is valid. Honor it. Rest when you can. Step away from the news when you need to. Focus on what you can control. Hydration, shade, rest, community, preparation. Those are your anchors. Hold on to them. Let go of the rest. The atmosphere will shift. It always does. Patterns break. Fronts move. Rain returns. Air cools. Sleep comes back. Energy returns. Life resets. But until that moment arrives, we stay smart. We stay steady. We stay connected. And we do not underestimate the heat. We do not overestimate our tolerance. We respect the science. We listen to our bodies. We protect the vulnerable. We prepare for the next wave. And we remember that resilience is not a trait you are born with. It is a practice you build, day by day, choice by choice, action by action. You're building it right now by watching this, by learning, by preparing, by sharing, by caring. That matters. More than you know, the worst heat is still ahead. Scientists are warning everyone because the data leaves no room for doubt. The dome is reloading. The nights are not cooling. The soil is drying. The grid is straining. The body is fatigued. The next surge is forming. But you are not caught off guard. You are informed. You are ready. You know what to do. You know who to check on. You know how to adapt. You know how to survive. And when this passes, as it will, you will look back and realize that preparation was the difference between fear and peace, between scrambling and stability, between surviving and thriving. Keep water close. Keep shade closer. Keep your community closest. Rest when you need to. Act when you must. Share what you know. Trust what you feel. Respect what the sky is telling us. And remember that even in the hottest days, human care is the coolest force we have. Use it. Spread it. Protect it. I will be back the moment the models shift, the moment the pattern breaks, the moment relief arrives. Until then, stay hydrated, stay shaded, stay connected, and stay safe. The heat is serious. But so are you. And that is exactly why we will get through this together.